Woo! Woo! We are live. What's up, everyone? A happy Sunday to all the gamers out there. Wanted to do a quick brap rant. Since Wednesday, a lot of interesting things have happened in regards to the gaming industry, the industry that we so love, our passion, playing video games. But I want to say welcome to everyone. Thank you again, guys, for all the support. Remember, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so. If you're looking for reasonable, rational gaming content or gaming podcasts, you have come to the right place. You will definitely enjoy the content that we put out here on BRAP, better known as Basement Radio Arcade Podcast. So I'm actually toying around with the idea, guys, of actually doing more, because we do like a more general gaming show. Like, we're not really platform specific. Like, we don't have like we're not like an Xbox podcast. We're not a PlayStation podcast. We're not a a Nintendo Switch podcast or Nintendo podcast. And yeah, so I was thinking about maybe doing a couple things. Doing a Xbox centric type podcast under the BRAP name. And then doing a PlayStation-centric podcast as well. Thinking about maybe doing those on the weekends or something like that. But we'll see. I mean, I'm not, just an idea that I'm playing around with. You know, I'd like to. Irrelevant Nation, are there Switch podcasts? They are Nintendo-centric podcasts out there on YouTube. And Nate says, "Oh snap, we got a rant." I just want to say something, guys. Big shout out to AEW, by the way. I had the pleasure of watching All Elite Wrestling's Revenge. I think it was Revenge pay-per-view yesterday. I think that's what it was called. And just a great wrestling pay-per-view. Much better than that show that WWE put on this week out in Saudi Arabia, which I thought was just terrible. Didn't enjoy any of the matches. The AEW pay-per-view was just awesome. Awesome. Lay says, I think this podcast definitely leans heavy towards Xbox. That's interesting. Well, okay. But I was thinking more of a Xbox specific, only talking about Xbox podcast, and a PlayStation specific podcast, only discussing all things PlayStation. And I want to do that because, I like to bring some sensibility, some rationale, if you will, to the gaming streets. I see a lot of misinformation, false narratives out there. With some of the chatter on the internets, some of the chatter on podcast, and like to just offer gamers a different perspective, if you will, as opposed to the Sony scared of Sony didn't go to PAX East narrative because they're not ready, type shit that we hear and read on the internet. So or the Xbox has no games narrative that's out there. I like to provide a different perspective than just that kind of stuff. So, because I think it's important. I think it's needed in the community. I'm still seeing, it's crazy. Like, here we are, weeks after the, apparently I don't think I could say the actual name of the virus, because I think YouTube's demonetizing now. They actually just demonetized one of my videos, or limited monetization of one of my videos that had the title of the virus in the subject matter. So I'm just going to call it the C virus, which you guys all know what I'm talking about. But there's people out there saying that in fact that Sony really used the C virus as an excuse not to attend PAX East. So that's the kind of nonsense, and this is why the gaming community can never have anything nice, by the way. This is why we get this stigma that we do, because people see stuff like this and we get lumped in with all the nonsense. Those that are sensible. Z Black Rider saying only doctors can talk about it. That's interesting, because and I understand, like, only doctors can talk about it. Maybe you don't want misinformation out there, whatever the case is, but I mean, geez, I mean, we see misinformation with other topics out there, like things in politics and whatnot. So I don't know. It is what it is. D Floyd says, what games do they have? They have first party games. They have exclusives. I think that when people really say they don't have any games, I mean, I think they mean like no new big AAA bangers, on par with Sony and Nintendo. So I would never say that Microsoft doesn't have any games. But as I said in the last BRAP rant this week, that Microsoft really needs to improve on its output in terms of quality for newer big AAA exclusive for the Xbox platform to be on par with the likes of Nintendo and Sony's first-party studios. So they don't have anyone like a Naughty Dog or Monolith Soft or anything like that. Not that the studios they have are bad. They're just not on that tier, if you will, in terms of output of quality. So, and guys, by the way, I apologize. I'm actually a little bit under the weather, battling a cold. So just to D Floyd says something's going on with Discord. All right, let's see here, guys. Give me a sec. All right, let's see what's happening here. Is that better, guys? Can you hear me? Z Black Rider says quality is subjective. I understand that argument, Z Black Rider, but there is a general consensus here that debunks that subjective piece that I hear a lot. There's a general consensus out there, and you don't achieve that general consensus unless you get to a point of mass appeal, and not everything as it pertains to art, music, movies has that level of mass appeal. And look, there's something to be said when you see Sony's first party, Nintendo's first party being nominated for Game of the Years, being in the discussion for Game of the Generation. Microsoft hasn't had a game like that in a very long time. So I understand the subjective piece, individual being liking or finding quality from the individual perspective, but that doesn't debunk the fact that there is a general consensus with the fact that these games are better. Look, it is what it is. I mean, I've talked to developers behind the scenes that have said the same thing. They look, when it comes to the quality of first party, Nintendo and PlayStation are just on another level. Not to say that the Xbox first party output isn't good. There's some good games there. Like Gears 5 is a good game. It's not a great game, but it's a good game. It wasn't up there for any kind of nominations or for Game of the Year or in that conversation, if you will. But Microsoft hasn't really had a game out there that really has had a profound impact in a specific genre or for their platform really since Gears, and Gears was a second party exclusive. So again, this doesn't mean Xbox sucks. Xbox does not suck. It is a successful platform. You could sit there and say, oh, but it's in third place. Well, you know what? These companies don't gauge success the way people in the gaming community do, fans do. Their definition of success is really driven by dollars. So Microsoft's Xbox platform is driving revenue and profitability for the company. Therefore, it is a successful platform, and that's what I'll use to judge the success of any platform for any business. So, and it says, we are keeping it real. I'm not even mad. So, guys, by the way, hit that like button if you haven't done so already. I'm going to actually drop the link in the live chat if you guys wouldn't mind retweeting the link out. There we go. D-Floyd says Days Gone was a pleasant surprise. Days Gone actually was a pleasant surprise. I was like, I read the reviews. I was like, I'm not going to play this game. And I remember Mooch was saying hey, Enrique, you got to try this out. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'll try it out. And then it went on sale for like $15 on Amazon. I picked it up, played it, and wow. Let me tell you something. I cannot wait for Days Gone 2. It is my surprise game of 2019. And I just can't wait. I cannot wait to continue the adventures of DK, John, and Boozer. And I'm telling you, that game had its claws in me. I mean, I just couldn't wait to go back and play it. I mean, it was so. Look, it had some difficulties. Obviously, there were some gameplay design features that Sony Ben did implement that, probably maybe they could have scaled back on in terms of the sheer size of the world, giving the limitation of the hardware. But I would imagine just with the next-gen hardware that this is actually going to be a much improved. I would assume that it would be a much improved version of or game than its predecessor on the PlayStation 4 platform. So, guys, I want to share something before we get. So, GDC was canceled, postponed 2020. A lot of companies started pulling out as a result of the concern over the global virus. I can't say it because I don't want YouTube to demonetize me. But this thing is certainly GDC is not the first event, if you will, to cancel or postpone over the virus. The Mobile World Conference was postponed in Barcelona, Spain. We're seeing community spread instances of the virus now. I know in the state I live in, there are 2 individuals who they're testing for the virus. We see individuals in California and more specifically in Oregon who I think one just passed away, and then one in California, 1 or 2 I think in California, and I could be wrong. You guys can Google this, but has caught the virus from an unknown origin, meaning no travel, no interaction from anybody from overseas. So, and I think this in part is why the examples that I just gave is why people are canceling. It's not console war nonsense, as I see some people still discussing out there on the internets, but this is really about prevention and being proactive more than anything else. And I wonder, like, if this is going to impact E3. Now, I'm going to E3 in June, and so I am hoping that this is not postponed. And I wonder if E3 is going to be postponed. Z Black says if Computex gets canceled, good chance E3 not far behind. I mean, I'm hoping that I'm hoping that this is not. Sabi said, look, this is gonna be my first E3, so obviously I don't want it to be canceled. GDC was. I actually tweeted out that GDC was going to be canceled before it was announced. I had heard. I have a buddy who worked for a developer as a BD, and it's actually a pretty large, big. It's a big developer publisher, and he was saying that he had told me a couple days before that that there was a good chance and more than likely that GDC was going to be canceled. And so I tweeted that out, and a couple days later it was announced. But I'm also hearing from the same person that obviously there's 2 things that could happen with these next generation consoles. And this individual saying that there could be supply constraints. So if you're interested in this next gen console, I would encourage you to go out and pre-order the minute these consoles. The pre-order for these consoles open up. Like, if you are interested in getting this console at launch, these 2 consoles, you need to go out there and pre-order ASAP. Now, I believe Linus Tech put out a video saying that if you're going to buy PC parts, or if you're going to invest in a PC, do so now, because what's up, Dreadpool? Because there's going to be the price of these of components is going to be significantly increased because of the production issues out of China because of the virus. So, but I heard from this individual that supply constraints could be real, and that there's discussion of happening behind the scenes at that if the situation in China worsens, it doesn't get better, that a possibility does exist that these next generation consoles, the launch date for these consoles could be pushed back into 2021. Now, again, let me just make this clear. This person doesn't work for Microsoft, doesn't work for Sony, works for another publisher developer, but this is what he's hearing. So, interesting perspective, interesting to hear this. And I don't, I got to be honest with you guys, like, it wouldn't surprise me if there was supply constraints. It wouldn't surprise me if the situation got worse, where Sony and Microsoft would delay the launch of these consoles. So we'll see. I mean, I think this is to me this is fascinating. I can't remember a time in my almost 40 years of gaming, and every time I say that, people are like, Enrique, you're such a grandpa. I like to bring up the fact that I've been gaming 40 years because I feel like it definitely gives me a different perspective in gaming. There's something to be said for experience. An older, wise person told me that once a long time ago. Anyhow, but this is fascinating. I have never seen a situation like this where a pandemic, this is like some Days Gone shit, a virus, could impact the gaming industry in this way. It's just fascinating. We've seen some impacts, I think, with some game delays already, because of the virus. I believe there was a game. I forget what game it was. Was it Doom? No, it wasn't Doom. There's a game that was going to be released on the Switch, a port for the Nintendo Switch that got delayed because the studio working on it was in China. So there's been some impact already. Big shout out to Silverback with the $2 super chat. Thank you, sir. Says E3 gets canceled because they're afraid of Series X. Z Black Rider says most console parts are automated, but logistics will be overwhelmed. Nate says, I'm glad I got a backlog that looks like King Kong, a GTX 1080 Ti equipped PC, and every available console this generation. I'm going to be good. So, look, this virus is having a profound impact on not just gaming, but look at the economy here in the U.S. The market is down the most it's been. My stocks, oh boy, my stocks have taken a fucking hit. Surprisingly enough, there are some stocks that actually have been doing well. I believe 3M is one of the stocks, and I'm not surprised their stocks have gone up because people have been buying the N95, surgical masks that 3M manufactures. Those are sold out. Look, if you go to if you're here in the U.S. and you go to a drugstore, or you go to Amazon, you try to look for these N95 masks, they're sold out. You can't find them. But I actually think the more likely outcome here is going to be is that consoles are going to I think there's going to be supply constraint. I think that, to me, would probably be more likely than the consoles being delayed to 2021. So we'll see. Something to definitely keep an eye on. So, guys, it is interesting. There is, and I didn't put this on the list of topics to talk about in the title here, but some developers are out there saying that that game developers are telling Business Insider that Google isn't offering enough money, among other concerns, to put games on Stadia. They're saying that we spoke with game developers and publishers who said there are two main reasons their games aren't on Stadia. Google didn't offer them enough money, and they don't trust the Mercurial company to stick with the game with gaming in the long term. Now, I have heard this concern from smaller developers that have said that the technology of Stadia works. Their concern is the long-term viability of the platform, or whether or not Google is going to see this platform through. Now, I will say with this Business Insider article, a big shout out to my man Hogue Law. He put out a great YouTube piece with regards to another Business Insider article about the viability of Xbox Game Pass. So you definitely should check that out, because the one thing that Hogue does, I think Hogue does a great job of really dissecting and critically thinking about who are these individuals that are providing this information to, let's say, Business Insider in this case. What are their motivations? I think those are important things to remember when we're citing anonymous sources. And I would apply that to this particular article. I'm not saying that it's not true, but I'd wonder what the motivation of these developers are. Who are these developers and publishers that are saying that Google isn't offering enough money to put their games on Stadia. And I'm not saying that's not true, but I think there's always two sides to a story, and maybe perhaps what's the motivation here from these anonymous developers that aren't giving their names, to put this information out there, And I'm not saying that again that it's not a real deal. But that being said, I mean, even that, I mean, if that's going on behind the scenes, where Google's having a hard time enticing people to publishers, developers to put their games on the Stadia platform, we know Stadia as a platform is content starved at the moment. That doesn't potentially bode well for Stadia. So we'll see. That's going to be, again, I think that's an interesting thing, guys, to kind of keep your eye on as we get further into 2020. What the developer publisher support is going to be for Stadia here this year. So I don't see them surviving without content. This goes back to what I was saying about the Xbox Series X. That content is king. All these features are great. Google Stadia technology works. It's great. It's a nice option, but it doesn't have compelling content yet. And that's a problem. It's a problem for any platform. If you want to get people to invest in your ecosystem, in your platform, damn it, you better have some good games. You better have some big people. And I've heard people say, oh, I don't like AAA bangers. That's fine. But guess what? AAA bangers, those new big exclusives that highlight, take advantage of your hardware, that are like showpieces for your platform, those things matter. Those things move consoles. Those things get people excited. Those things get people into ecosystems. So, guys, a couple months ago, there was a rumor going around that Sony was going to launch two PlayStation 5 SKUs. Essentially, you would have the base PlayStation 5 and a PlayStation 5 Pro at launch, and that rumor kind of dissipated. Like like no one's really talked about it recently, and here we are. This rumor has just recently surfaced. Now, just take this with a grain of salt, because this is coming from Jack of all controllers, so I would take this with a grain of salt. Still, it's fascinating. It's fascinating to hear that this rumor is out there in the wild again, because this was a rumor again that popped up a couple months ago. And according to Jack of all controllers, again, grain of salt, guys. I'm not saying this is going to happen. I know people are going to say, oh, Enrique said that it's going to be 2 PlayStation 5s. He's saying it because he's scared of the Series X or Sony's scared. No. Let me tell you something, guys. I've been very lucky to have people on the show that have ties to people in the industry. I've had people on the show that have worked in the gaming industry. I've been and I know, just talking to someone we've had on the show who has some direct knowledge with things that are going on with PlayStation 5, that you can put this narrative to rest that Sony's not really concerned about the Series X. They're not. They're more focused on getting the marketing and the transition of their core fan base to the PlayStation 5. That's really what they're focusing on right now, too. They're not really concerned with the Series X. And you can say, oh, of course they are. That's why they haven't, whatever. You could that's fine. I mean, people could fanboy that argument all they want, but this is coming from people that have direct knowledge of what's going on behind the scenes, and I would probably take that information any day over someone's assumption about things that they probably don't have insight into. So again, guys, this comes from NeoGAF. I'm not, I don't visit NeoGAF. I really don't go to even Reset Era. By the way, big shout out to everyone in the live chat, guys. Some great conversations going on here in the live chat. Hello to everyone that said hello to me. Glad you guys could stop by, hang out, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so, please. We appreciate the support. And I'm going to drop the link again, guys, if you wouldn't mind retweeting the link. By the way, big shout out to the Iron Lords. They had an industry icon in Kamiya, Hideko Kamiya from Platinum Games. They interviewed him, man. I mean, that is phenomenal. By the way, guys, it's interesting. Those guys, if you haven't checked out the ILP, please check them out. Those guys do a phenomenal, fantastic job. And they really, they deserve the most subscriptions out of any community-based podcast that I've come across. They do fantastic work. They get some great industry guests on. I mean, to get Kamiya, and that interview hasn't released yet. I'm not sure when that's going to drop, but I know they just posted a new video out for the developer that's behind the video game Ghost Runner. I mean, again, to get Kamiya is just huge. I mean, big salute to those guys. I can't wait to see that interview because Kamiya is an industry icon, in my opinion. Okay, according to NeoGAF user VFX Veteran, again, guys, grain of salt here. He's claiming that Sony Interactive Entertainment will release a PlayStation 5 Plus around the same time as a PlayStation 5. Now, this user has been verified to be worthy by mods to be believable, so that's the only reason that, according to Jack of All Controllers, is the reason why they're talking about this article. Now, I haven't heard anything behind the scenes about a PlayStation 5 Pro being available at launch. Now, according to this NeoGAF person, says that the Sony PlayStation 5 Plus will apparently cost $600. It will be an absolute beast of a console. That it will surpass the 12 teraflops of power of the Xbox Series X. So, again, this is a rumor, guys. I haven't heard anything behind the scenes that would lead me to believe, and I did talk to someone today that said that they haven't heard anything concrete. But it's, look, guys, I don't see this happening. I don't see Sony launching 2 SKUs at launch. I mean, if they do, And if they do, I mean, that's going to be one hell of a way to try to market two consoles. The PlayStation 5 Pro and the base PlayStation. But who knows? Crazier things have happened. But I don't see them doing that just yet. I see them probably doing the vanilla PlayStation 5 and more, focusing their marketing, and not that they can't market both, but I think focusing their concerted efforts on supporting that platform and getting into as many users' hands as possible. But it would, I mean, for argument's sake, I mean, it would put a interesting twist into Sony's approach in their launch this console generation, especially when we know that the Xbox Series X is launching. It's a very impressive piece of hardware. But Microsoft also is going to still be supporting its, last generation consoles. Excuse me, guys. Microsoft's still going to be supporting, the Xbox One X and the vanilla Xbox One S. But I just don't see, and I'm only basing this on, I don't have any inside knowledge of this, but I'm just saying, I don't think that Sony launches the PlayStation 5 Pro. I see that more as I see them doing that probably maybe 2 or 3 years in. Because, I mean, I guess we would imagine that maybe Microsoft might do kind of a Xbox Series X mid-gen upgrade like they did with the Xbox One, right? Matt Byron says a Pro model will have to lose back compat to move to RDNA 2. Well, Matt, my understanding isn't the GPU RDNA 2 for PlayStation 5? So anyhow, I don't know if this thing, again, I don't see Sony doing a dual SKU launch with the PlayStation 5. I guess if they did, I mean, it would certainly be interesting. Now and I would think that if this is true, the console launches at 600, does that mean that the PlayStation 5 Pro is 500? I know Sony's really trying to get the console in at $399, keep it at the same launch price as the PlayStation 4. Z Black Rider says both consoles will have wafer restrictions. Can't see either having two at launch. Yeah, and I don't think that the Xbox Series S is going to launch. Is going to launch at the same time as the Series X. I can see the Series S coming the following year. So anyhow, interesting rumor. Something to kind of keep an eye out, as we get closer to the reveal of the PlayStation 5. So Matt says RDNA was built on GCN. RDNA 2 was not. They process info very differently. PlayStation 5 is hardware backwards compatible. It has to work with GCN. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to. That's an interesting point, Matt. I want to, and I don't know what you do, Matt, if you're in the industry or if you've have worked on, have any ties to software engineering or worked on hardware, but that's an interesting point. I do want to talk to. There is that individual I have in mind that I want to ask that to, who's got some insight into this. That's a very interesting point, Matt. So yeah, guys, this is something, again, I would take this with a grain of salt. I don't think it's going to happen, me personally, but that's my opinion. We'll see whether or not. This thing comes to fruition. So, all right, guys. So, So when the development costs, manufacturing costs of the PlayStation 5 were discussed, I think this was also Business Insider. No, this was that Bloomberg article that came out a couple weeks ago regarding Sony trying to figure out the price. Excuse me, guys. I gotta get a drink of water here. I'm telling you guys, I'm battling this cold. It's kicking my ass a little bit. Give me a second, guys. All right, so when that article came out, it was mentioned that I believe the development cost for the PlayStation 5, I was trying to find that article. I think it was estimated at like $460 around then. And then Z Huge actually had estimated that, but we had Z Huge on the show too. He's a gaming analyst. We've had him on. We had him on. It's been a long time, a couple of years actually, since we had Z Huge. It's actually not Z Huge. It's Juga, but I think we had Z Huge on a couple of years ago. But anyhow, he mentioned that the development cost of the Series X is in that 480, I think 520 range. And I've been seeing people. I've been seeing this. I've been seeing some people say that the Xbox Series X is going to be $450. Now, I don't see this thing coming at $400. One, I don't think Microsoft is taking that tremendous loss on hardware. I know that Phil's talked about that they're not in the game to do that. I think 500 is I think that's the price point that this thing's going to come in at. In my opinion, I think that when they have set that precedent of $499 with the Xbox One X, and we may have all balked at that price point, but many of us didn't, because at $499, you're getting a premium console. You know what you're getting. It's a premium price point, if you will. I think anything above 500, it's a tough sell. Consoles historically haven't done well at a $600 price point. You can ask Sony that. They learned that lesson the hard way. So I also don't see this thing coming in at $450. I think $450 is kind of an odd price point. I mean, at that point, why not go $400? Why not go $399? Why tack on the extra $50? So I really think that PlayStation 4 will come in at $399, and I think that, I'm sorry, I said PlayStation 4. PlayStation 5 will come in at $399, and the Xbox Series X will be $500. I think at $500, that's a great price point for that hardware. I think for PlayStation 5, $399, a great price point for that hardware. But it's going to be interesting. Sony's still kind of tied more to that traditional, hardware sales where they want to get you and, they want you to buy their hardware. For Microsoft, I think ultimately the platform for Microsoft is ultimately Game Pass, to get you in Game Pass. So, I mean, I think $499, I could see Microsoft offering those that are new or don't have a current subscription to Game Pass. I could see them offering, kind of maybe like a 90-day trial or something like that to try Game Pass, where you have access to, all these games, these 200 or so games, whatever the case is. I could see it's not going to benefit someone like me, because I'm locked into Game Pass Ultimate right now, which in my guesstimation, or in my opinion, if you are in the Xbox ecosystem, that is probably the way to go. And I think that's probably what Microsoft is going to do in terms of what kind of subscriptions they offer moving forward. So, yeah, I don't see the Series X coming in again at $400 or $450. I think more than likely it's going to be $500. I've seen people try to make the argument, it's going to come in at $400. Microsoft's going to take it to Sony. No, I don't see that happening. And I don't see it happening because they're still selling. I don't see them taking a big loss. I think if Microsoft was motivated to get people to transition over or get the Series X in the hands of as of many people as possible. I think that they would. I think that they would maybe, and this is just my guesstimation. Maybe perhaps then you could have the conversation that they would maybe take that hit to get that console in the hands of more gamers. But I don't see them doing it because they're still selling the Xbox One X. They're still selling the Xbox One S when the Xbox Series X launches. They're not, leaving any gamer behind per se, at least for the first year or two. So I see them selling this as a premium product, as like Phil said, hey, if you want to, use the power of PC and, enjoy our first party games on that platform, then hey, you can do that. If you want to, get the best console experience of our first party games, we have a Series X for you. Or if you choose not to upgrade, you don't have to. And I think so. I don't see them coming in at $400. I mean, I think $500 for the for the Series X, and I think you'll see the Xbox One X probably at that $300 price point. I don't see it going back to $399. But we'll see. I mean, who knows? I mean, this is going to be interesting how this all plays out. I think if Microsoft, and this is a hypothetical, if Microsoft was to come out and say $399 for this console, that is a tremendous value proposition. If you're looking to buy, the Xbox, Series X, I think that's a tremendous value proposition, giving what we know about the hardware. So it's going to be interesting. Definitely something. I think we're obviously going to find out more at E3. I think we'll get the price of the Series X then. But damn, I don't see this coming in at 400. I think 500 is probably what is going to be the launch price of this console, and I'm basing that on what Microsoft has done with their premium Xbox products, if you will, with the Xbox One X launching at $499. That was a premium console. Made sense to launch that console at $500, and people still bought it. So. Yes, I did say wait till E3 because that's when we're going to see the price point. I don't think Microsoft's going to announce the price before E3. I just don't see that happening. DM Ready Smart God says 12 teraflops of RDA2 new technology. You expect them to say $399? No, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't see that happening. I don't think that they're going to get that at $399. I just don't see it happening. Yes, Spartan Guy, they are selling the Xbox One X. It's still out there in the wild. My point is that it's out in retail. It's still there. Ian Rand says, what about $599? I don't see $599. I don't think $599 is just not a good price point, historically speaking. Consoles that have launched at $600, not good. Ask Sony about that with the PlayStation 3. Now, I think if they show some bangers, it just can't be Halo, can't be Gears or Forza. They show some new, big, sexy AAA titles utilizing the full power of the Xbox Series X. They charge $600. You probably perk some ears. You would definitely see a lot of the core consumer base of the Xbox probably gravitate towards the Series X. Even if at $600, if they showed something like that. I think at $600 though, you got to show games content that really makes that case to pay that price point. Poetic Exinitions, I don't think they should announce a price until Sony says something. Look, they're not going to wait for Sony. Microsoft isn't as... Look, these companies are going to announce their price points. Microsoft feels that they're offering a premium console experience. They're gonna offer it at a premium price, and they're gonna market that as such. I don't think they're going to get into a pricing war or even thinking about PlayStation 5's price. But this E3 is going to be interesting. Like, it's going to be, I'm really curious to see what other announcements Microsoft's going to make for the Series X. And then obviously the price point. See, a DM already sparring out says SSD check isn't cheap. That's true. I mean, it isn't cheap, but also remember that they're also buying this stuff wholesale too. So I mean, we got to remember we can't always compare what we would pay as consumers retail versus what these companies are paying for parts wholesale. But yeah, I mean, even that being said, I mean the SSD is still even at wholesale more than All right, guys. I'm double checking the I have a news aggregate feed here for gaming news. I'm just seeing if anything may have popped up that I may want to talk about here last minute before I wrap up this rant. Anybody interested in Predator Hunting Grounds? So it's getting Predator Hunting Grounds is getting a trial weekend on PlayStation 4 and PC. It starts March 27th. I don't know, guys. Like, I've seen this. DM Mighty Sparring Us, says, anyone wonder why neither Sony or Microsoft have disclosed how much RAM they will have or clock speeds? That's a great question. I don't know. That's something also that's also going to play a big part into in-game performance. Even with these bigger, more powerful GPUs, these flops, all those things are going to play a part into overall how the console performs in-game performance. It's interesting. We had Optimus Code on this past Wednesday, guys, and if you didn't listen to him. If you don't know who Optimus is somebody who has been in the gaming industry. I believe he's a software engineer, has developed video games, knows people in the industry, but he's got a great insight because he's been in the industry, and he sat at the table, if you will, and he gave us some interesting insight into GPUs in terms of that number that they give us, that raw performance number. In this case, the 12 teraflops. He's like, I'm totally paraphrasing it here, by the way, and I could be missing some of the more important things he mentioned. But if my memory serves me correct, he said something like, unless you use all the unique features of that specific GPU, you're not going to get that advertised teraflop number. Rather, you're going to get a baseline number, and that applies to every game and every GPU. And again, I'm probably paraphrasing here. But that was an interesting point where he said, if you don't use all those unique features built into the GPU, you're not going to get to that advertised teraflop point. Which no idea, didn't know that. But you can actually, so I just split this week's BRAP podcast into two parts, part one, part two. That piece about the GPU is actually in part one of the podcast. So you definitely want to go check that out if you're interested in getting his insight into how this thing works. So, Matt Byron says, really, it's GPU is such a small part of the reason to upgrade to next gen. It's always beyond just prettier. I would agree with that. I'm really excited about these consoles having better CPUs as opposed to these booty CPUs that they have now. CPUs in these consoles are terrible. Twin Detroit says both consoles will be good. Absolutely, both consoles will be good. But Predator Hunting Grounds, I don't know, not really my bag. I mean, I'm gonna give it a shot. But anyhow, that trial comes out March 27th through the 29th. If you're interested, check that out. By the way, guys, if you haven't tried Yakuza 0, definitely try that. Like, if you grew up playing those side scroller beat 'em ups, you like a little bit of QTE, you like some cool narrative. It is I think it's a good game. I'm enjoying this. I think it's worth a shot. It's on Game Pass. You know, try it while it's still available. Certainly a game that's probably very different from anything if you only own an Xbox. Probably different from anything you've played on the Xbox platform, which I don't think is a bad thing. Twin Detroit, welcome to Brap, sir. It's his first time on the channel. Sir, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already, and that bell for notification so you know when we go live. Let's see here. 2 Point Hospital is addicting. I keep hearing about this game, and I haven't played it. But guys, definitely, I definitely check out Yakuza 0. It's one of my favorite games. I'm actually playing it again. I picked it up on PlayStation 4 when it released here, and playing it on PC now. I just love it. Love the combat. It's over the top. Love it. Yeah, some guy. I never played Theme Hospital. Defloyd says play Hollow Knight. I gotta play Hollow Knight. I haven't played that yet. That game's actually been on my radar for quite some time. I just never gave it the green light, if you will, to download it and play. By the way, guys, did you guys see the Baldur's Gate 3 trailer? Day one. I'm a huge Baldur's Gate fan. So if you guys missed it, Larian Studios finally unveiled some gameplay at PAX East 2020 for the upcoming Baldur's Gate 3. There was a 3-hour presentation before the conference which shared a lot of information about the game's gameplay, mechanics, character creation, classes, and combat. The visuals, probably similar to Divinity Original Sin 2. And the initial gameplay review also revealed that Baldur's Gate is going to have turn-based combat. I think a lot of people thought it was going to have. I think some people thought it was going to have real-time combat, but it's turn-based. I'm excited, guys. I'm a big fan of Baldur's Gate. Can't wait. And it's going to be like day one for me. Yeah, Sammy Prescott is saying day one. All right, guys. So on that note, guys, I'm going to wrap up this Brap rant because, damn it, I want to get to some. I want to play some video games. I want to get back into Yakuza 0. I need to get back into some Dark Souls too, or not Dark Souls. I'm sorry, Bloodborne. Haven't finished that game yet. Bloodborne may be my favorite game of the PlayStation 4 this generation. It's damn good. DMRD Spartan guy says, Brap, do you think these consoles are finished and locked down? Yes. I mean, there could be some things they do, increase clock speed, things like that. But I think for the most part, these consoles are They're locked and loaded. They're locked and loaded. You know, and the unfortunate part about the whole 12 teraflops thing, not the unfortunate part, because that's impressive hardware. I think everyone's really focused too much on power. And not that power is not important, but it shouldn't be used as the only measuring stick or the most important measuring stick. Content is king. I've always said that. Content is king, and it always will be king. It's the one constant that I've seen in the last 40 years of gaming. That's never changed. You know, the platforms that have consistently been able to put out quality content on a consistent basis are the ones that have been the most successful in the industry. The history shows that. I don't know why people argue that point. I see people arguing that. Doesn't make sense to me. Anyhow, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this rap rant. I appreciate you guys coming out, hanging out with me. Everyone, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hit that bell notification so you know when we go live. And we'll be back on Wednesday. Harry Balls says, oh, Harry Balls. You had to go there, buddy. I was going to end this rap rant. But I'm going to give you some insight, Harry Balls. Because what you are saying is kind of more along the lines of a console wars argument. Guys, stop using console war arguments to bring points. It's pointless. He says, funny how power doesn't matter now. PS4 didn't have content. It was based on power. They got games 3 years later. Stop the content BS. Harry Balls. I've been gaming for 38 years, my friend. If we go back to 2013, the reason why power was such an issue and why it was a topic, if you will, and you got to remember, the argument of power was confined to a small group, us. I mean, most people outside of Twitter, like you can't always assume that what you see on Twitter isn't an accurate reflection of what's going on in the general gaming community. I have friends that game that are hardcore gamers that are on Twitter. I show them some of the shit that goes on Twitter and they laugh. Enrico Kitchen brings up a great point. This is true. But I just want to address this because I see this a lot. And, 2013, 1080p was the standard. And so when you launch a console that can't do games in 1080p or doesn't have games that are running 1080p, and your previous console, the 360 in this case, did have some games in 1080p, but when your new console is more money than the competition and it's running games at the same resolution as its predecessor, that's why it was an issue. Now, yes, I understand. I hear this argument all the time. Xbox released all these games at launch, more than Sony did. Yes, they did. Sony had a couple smaller titles that were exclusive to the platform, like Resogun, Soccer Cars. It's not called Soccer Cars, but Rocket League, which was actually a big hit at the time. But, it's not just games that are being released at launch. It's the quality of those games. And I always say, we'll judge a console by its body of work. You can't make the argument that, oh, well, we had more launch games, and then you didn't have anything else, and then say, oh, well, they didn't have any launch games. The body of work applies for both sides. That's my point. And Nate, I agree with what you just said. I mean, guys, I can't stress this enough. I've seen this every, and it's funny. Like I said this in my last rap rant when I said Xbox first party needs to step up. People got upset. Look, I will never look, guys. I don't try to. Here's the thing, like the Series X. No doubt, it is a fucking impressive piece of hardware. No one should even dispute that. Should not even be an argument. But at the end of the day, the content is what defines that platform, not the power. Now, and not to totally dismiss power, because obviously power is important, but even more importantly is the talent that you have behind that platform that has power, how they utilize that power. You look at what Naughty Dog has done with the base PlayStation 4. Woo! You look at Sony Santa Monica, what they did with the base PlayStation 4. Woo! You look at what Guerrilla Games did with the base PlayStation 4. Woo! You look at what Coalition did with Gears 5 on the Xbox One X. Woo! All right. So some guy. See, I'm trying to end this podcast, but guys, like, okay, somebody in the live chat says everyone likes power. If people didn't like power, we would still be playing Pong. Oh boy. Is this what we're really doing? That comment right there, guys, we got to stop with this. There's no rationale behind that comment. I mean, like, this is the kind of stuff, guys, that like just like I don't understand it. Like it's unfortunate. It isn't that people like games. Look, I've been doing this shit for a long fucking time. I've never heard anyone say well, actually, that's not true. I've heard some people say this. I'm buying a console because it's the most powerful console. But the majority of the time, I've heard people say, I'm buying this console because I want to play this game. Nate says, "Don't." Yeah, you know what, Nate? You're right. I shouldn't let them bait me, but I just try to bring some rationale, some sensibility to the conversation because I see this a lot, and it's unfortunate. Like and it's crazy, like this back and forth and stuff, and these people getting emotional because you say that games matter. Like we're gamers, we play video games. That's what we do. No one should get emotional about saying that content is king. It is king. It rules the roost. That's why I play video games. Anyhow, guys, on that note, I'm going to wrap up this rant because speaking of video games, I want to go play some video games. Actually, I think I'm, let's see here. I'm either going to be playing Yakuza 0. By the way, guys, I'm actually, look, so I've been trying to get the Brap guys to go back on Sea of Thieves because I want to play Sea of Thieves on PC. Nobody on the Brap panel wants to play Sea of Thieves with me. And I don't know why, but it's frustrating. So if you're interested in playing Sea of Thieves, let me know. Shoot me a DM on Twitter. I'd be more than happy to play Sea of Thieves. I've been trying to play it with, I think I got Pixel Beat G. He's actually not in here right now. But I think he's somebody who said he would play. So I'm trying to round a crew together, to play some Sea of Thieves. I really want to play it on PC. But on that note, guys, I'm going to play some Yakuza 0. Maybe hop on some Maybe some Division 2 later. I think the Mooch wants to run some Division 2 on PC, baby. All right, guys. Well, you know what? I want to thank everyone again for hanging out with me this afternoon, this morning. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Definitely appreciate it. Z Black Rider, yes, Sea of Thieves is crossplay enabled. There were some really big issues with people playing Sea of Thieves on the Xbox console and then having to deal with cheaters on PC. But yes, it is crossplay, Z Black Rider. So, guys, keep an eye out. I think I'm going to do, like I said, well, actually, let me know what you guys think. Would you guys like to see Brap do a Xbox-centric podcast and a PlayStation-centric podcast? Obviously, they'd be separate. Let me know what you guys think before we in the live chat. Give me a woo if you want to see that. Because I'm really thinking about it. I'm really thinking that, because we do like ours is just a general podcast, but I don't see, there's very few PlayStation podcasts that I listen to. Trophy Room's one of them. Definitely check those guys out. Bad Bit Games or at Mr. Bad Bit. D Floyd says I like the current format. I mean, D Floyd, we would not we would still have Brap, kind of our general, podcast. And it says there isn't enough information for content. Interesting. Okay. Matt Barnes says the best thing about getting older is I have more money. Ain't that the truth, man? It's nice when you have disposable income. Like I already have money put away for in 2 weeks I put money away for a new PC. I do like Sacred Symbols. Definitely check out the Trophy Room. We had Bad Big Games on. Him and Kyle are the two co-hosts for that particular podcast. I was actually a special guest on Tuesday. Z Black Rider says save money for the market crash. Oh boy, yeah, my stocks are taking a hit. They're taking a hit. So, all right, guys. On that note, I am out. Everyone, hey, enjoy your Sunday afternoon. Enjoy playing some video games, whatever it is you're doing today. I am out. We'll see you Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And who knows? Maybe there'll be another Brap rant. But guys, please check us out on Wednesday again. Come hang out with us. We're gonna have. I think Mooch is gonna be joining us, and I think Mr. Boomstick XL will be joining us as well on Wednesday. But I'll have an update for you guys on that tomorrow or Tuesday next week. So, all right, guys, I am out. Long-winded outro. I understand. So, everyone, enjoy your day. Peace.